What's going on out there in the world? This is Mr. Real Talk, coming from Mr. Real Talk, of course. I'm gonna make a very, very short video. I just wanted to holler at y'all real quick about this so-called little situation that took place about a week and a half ago. There's a guy by the name of LeBron James. Y'all might have heard of him before. He's the best basketball player on planet Earth. And he happens to be a so-called black man, a so-called Negro, a so-called African American, or a so-called nigger. Okay? A little while back, he came home and found the word nigger spray painted on his house. Okay? This is 2017. We living in America. This is June of 2017. And you know what's the sad part about it? If that had happened to any other celebrity of any other ethnic or racial background, the whole entire world would have came together and pressed the pause button, and they would have said, hold up, this is outrageous. And you know what? They would have found a suspect too, by the way. They would have found a suspect. And when they would have found that suspect, he would have got prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But you know why none of those things happen? Because nobody, and I mean nobody, cares about the so-called Negro, the so-called African American, the so-called black man and black woman. Don't nobody care about you, man. Nobody cares about y'all. It's only one person that cares about y'all. Okay? And I'll go into that at another time. But you should be smart enough just to use your two eyes that you got and see, don't nobody care about you, man. If that would have happened to anybody else from a so-called another race, the whole world would have pressed the pause button and said, find the bastard who did this and prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. But they don't care about you because nobody cares about you. So-called black people don't even care about black people, for the most part. Some of us do, but most of us hate each other. And you know why? Because your slave master hates black people. And most of you Negroes out there, you love what your slave master loves, and you hate what your slave master hates, so you hate so-called black people. Because your slave master hates so-called black people. And you take everything he says and does, and you want to do just like him. So that's a major problem. Because nobody even cares that this man, LeBron James, came home and found nigger spray painted on his house. This place ought to be ashamed of themselves for not treating him like they would treat everybody else. But it's a reason for that. And you know why? I'm going to go into that at a later time too. I'm just going to say this one last thing, then I'm going to be out. Let me ask you all a question. Be honest. Don't lie. Traditionally, what is the god of the Indian people? I mean, the people from India. What's their god? If you said Sheba, you are correct. Now, the Arabs, the people who are Arabic, traditionally, who is their god? If you said Allah, you are correct. Okay, now, the people who call themselves Americans or so-called white people, because they're not Americans, they're Europeans. They're European Americans. They'll never say that, though. They'll tell you you're African American, but he'll call himself an American. He's a European American, if you want to even call him American. Okay? But traditionally, what is the so-called white man or the American? What's their god? If you said white Jesus, you are correct. Now, let me ask you one more question. This is the $1 million question right here. Traditionally, so-called black people in America, or the Negroes or niggers, traditionally, who is the black god? Who is their god? Now, if you say you don't know, hey, congratulations, because you're just like 90% of the people on the earth. Nobody knows who the black God is. You know why? Because you have been forced to do something that nobody else has been forced to do. You have been forced to share gods with other people, their gods, and abandon your God. And I'm going to do a video about that in the near future, who your God is. On that note, y'all be easy. This Mr. Real Talk. I'm up and outie.